So I'm out here in the rice fields watching the sunset, and I'm completely frustrated because I'm trying to make a video and I have all the information there. It's kind of in my head, but I just can't articulate it properly. And you know, I had it. I was in town before and I had it. I really had it. I had the video. I was about 2 minutes into it, and then these kids were screaming walking past, and I had to shut off the camera. But I may as well try now because, you know, who cares? Alright, let's give it a go now. It's beautiful out here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So I'm so caught up in this whole concept of happiness. You know, ever since suffering from depression and anxiety, for most of my life, anxiety at least, I've been obsessed with this whole concept around happiness. You know, I think society has the concept of happiness twisted in a way. You know, I think one of the misconceptions is that happiness is the byproduct of success and high performance, whereas I believe it's the other way around. I believe that when you achieve happiness, when you're able to achieve a certain level of happiness, then you're better able to reach a good level of success and productivity and high performance. Now, I'm in the middle of reading a book at the moment called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor, and he gives an example about you know, doctors in medical school. Now, when a doctor is when a student is in medical school, an aspiring doctor, what they do is they run these doctors through a number of role-playing tests, I guess you can call it. Now, what they do is they give these aspiring doctors hypothetical symptoms and hypothetical medical history of these hypothetical patients, and they get them to give them diagnosis. Now, there's a phenomenon in the medical field called anchoring. Now, this phenomenon, what occurs with this phenomenon is a doctor will give an initial diagnosis, and then when something else pops up and they're meant to give the next diagnosis, that doctor gets stuck on the first diagnosis and they can't let go of that first diagnosis. Now, what they did, they wanted to do a test with in regards to happiness and how this could affect you know, a doctor's performance when they're giving diagnosis. And so what they did, they got 3 controlled groups. They got one group of doctors and they gifted them with candy before the test. And it's quite ironic. I found that quite ironic because a doctor usually gifts their patients candy. The second group was given a bunch of medical statements, and the third one was neutral. They had no stimulus. And surprisingly enough, they did these tests, they did these diagnosis tests, and the group that were gifted with the lollipops and their happiness was boosted before the study actually performed twice as better, and they did not anchor. They did less anchoring by 2.5 times the other less than the other group. And now that's staggering, and that just goes to prove that positive emotion leads to higher performance and higher creativity, higher levels of creativity. And in the medical field, you know, something like the medical field, you are required to have a certain creative level of thinking because, you know, there are a number of diagnoses, and, you know, inflexibility in thinking can really be a detriment to a patient. So, yeah, there's this... I also heard about this study conducted by a few psychologists, a whole team of psychologists recently, and they say they've catalogued 24 different cross-cultural traits or strengths or attributes that lead to human flourishing, and we all have them. So perhaps you're good at giving people advice, or you're good at making a certain meal, or you're good at writing or drawing or whatever that is. And they say the more you practice these things, the more you will be happy. And if you're practicing these things on a daily basis, then you know these things have a long-term effect for your happiness, in terms of your happiness. Now, I'm gonna put the link to this survey in the caption here. So if you would like to explore your top strengths as a person, you can take this survey and see, and then you can use those strengths in your everyday life in order to boost your productivity at work, or boost your performance and boost your overall level of happiness. And this really, I believe that doing this really has, it can really impact all aspects of your life. You know, it's not only your performance and productivity at work. You know, this can be, you know, a high level of happiness will rub off onto your relationships as well, and you know, it's known that with a high level of happiness you live longer. So yeah, these things are quite interesting. And you know, I'm in the middle of reading this book, and I found this study quite interesting, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. And yeah, that's it.